Hey guys, what's going on? So this is a interesting video. Um, for those of you guys who have been following me for, sheesh, 2011, 2012, something like that, for around 4 or 5 years, I kind of started this old series called Aze Approves, and in my personal opinion, it really sucked, and so that's why there's only three of them. And I think the idea that I wanted to have for Aze Approves was to talk about video games and why I like video games, the games that I like and the reasons that I like them. But for one, I had a really shitty mic back then, and for two, I think I was really young and I knew that I liked these games, and I could explain with some detail why I liked them. But I didn't really have an eye for actual game design at that point. And I'm not saying that I'm some, critical master of everything that a game should be. But I'm thinking that maybe now that I'm older, I could give it another shot. So I'm just going to put this first episode out here. And if you guys like it or want to see more, just let me know. My friend and I have been talking about it a little bit. I played a game recently that kind of inspired me to make these videos. So, what this is going to be is just me talking about reasons why I like a game. Probably going to be lots of spoilers, so if you haven't played the game and want to spare yourself for the story, don't watch it. And what this is going to be, I won't have a script for these videos. I won't write anything down about why I like these games. I'll just be talking. I might have a bulleted list or something to just go over certain things, but I don't want to make a critic video. I don't want to do a review exactly. I just want to talk about reasons why I like a game and what makes it good and the elements of the game that could make more games better if they use these features in my own eyes. Of course, you might feel differently, you might feel the same, but these are just games that I like and why I like them. And so the game that inspired me We are living our lives. Although with so much information is Persona 4. And I've played Persona games before. I've played 1, 2, 3, and 4 now. I hadn't played 4 until just recently. And I know that some people think that Persona 3 is better than 4, but in my personal opinion, I like 4 better, and I'm going to tell you why. But this video isn't going to be why 4 is better than 3. This video is going to be more like reasons why 4 is good on its own. Like, if somebody had never played a Persona game before, and they wanted to play this game, and I'm going to treat it as if it were standalone. Like, if no other games had come out before this, and this was the first in the series, why this game is good, and what makes it good. And I'm not going to be talking about Persona 4 Golden, which is the remake on the PS Vita. I'm just going to be talking about the original, because that's the one I played. I have played them both, but the one that made me love it so much was the original. And the remake does add some things that I might mention, but for the most part, this video will be about the original Persona 4. So Persona 4. I think the reason that I love this game so much is because it came to me at a time when I think I needed a game like this to come along, and I think I played it at a perfect time. And maybe this is going to make me sound a little bit pathetic or whatever, but for those of you who don't know, I just recently moved out of my parents' house, and I'm living on my own now, in an apartment all by myself. I don't have any roommates or anything, and I'm going to college. And so, I gotta have a job to pay for groceries and gas and all that stuff. The rent is paid for on the school, but the school itself is not large enough to have a dorm. So I'm just living in apartments nearby. And I don't have any friends. There's nobody over here that I'm really talking to. And I had a little bit of extra money left on this card that was expiring in a few months, so I just bought Persona 4 off Amazon because I had played the other ones and wanted to see what it was like. And, you know, in my personal views, I don't think Persona 1 through 3, they were good, but they weren't like masterpieces or anything. And as some of you may know, as in a previous Aze Approves video, I have always said that Pikmin 2 is my favorite video game of all time. It was the best thing ever, and Persona 4 came along, and it really changed that. And I don't think that any game is better than Persona 4 now. And it's kind of a weeaboo game, I'll be honest, but it's very good. It mixes... It's a JRPG first and a visual novel second. I know that some people rip on it for being a visual novel, and it is. I will admit that there are very long sections of just visual novel throughout the game, or a visual novel-esque gameplay anyway, but it is actually very well constructed, and so I'm going to get to all that. And so the first thing that stood to me when I first started playing Persona 4, and I started playing it, and it felt a lot like Persona 3, and I didn't see much of a difference at first, right? It's just like, oh, okay, this is going to be just like that, but I'm sure I would have fun with it, right? Now, in Persona 4, for those of you who don't know, the story is that you're a kid, and you moved into this small little countryside town from the big city because your uncle is like... Or no, your parents are going overseas, and so you go to stay with your uncle in this countryside town. And when you get there, these murders start happening, and there's this rumor going around that if you watch TV at midnight while it's raining, you can see your true love on the other side of the screen. But it turns out the person who shows up on the TV is the person who's going to be murdered, and yada yada. It's a murder mystery. You got to figure out who killed him, and I'm going to mention who he is in this video. So if you want to play this game and figure out who the murderer is on your own, don't watch this video, because it's a big spoiler. So, you go in and you meet these characters and whatnot, and it's all cool and everything. And I don't really want to go over the story in too much detail right now, but basically, as you go across the mysteries and start figuring things out, you meet more characters that join your team, the investigation team that's banded together to try and find who this murderer is and try and catch him. And you're kind of working with... Not really working with your uncle, because your uncle is a detective, and he's trying to find the killer at the same time. And what happens is, basically, you and your team are able to go inside the television because you have the abilities of personas, which are like these demons that you can summon. And so this would probably be the part where it would be a good idea to have a script. You go into the TVs with these personas, and you fight these monsters and save the people from being killed. So the way that the murderer is killing these people is he's throwing them in the TVs, and when they're inside the TV, they get attacked by these demons, and they die. And then their real body shows up in the real world, and yada yada. So you go into the world and fight the demons to stop them from dying, and then when you save a person, they join your team. And so you've got a sizable team of about 7 by the end of the game, not including yourself. You got 7 teammates, and... as it goes along, things start getting worse and worse, and that's just something I really like in video games, if they can integrate a story with good mystery. I've always been a sucker for that. Like, another FATlus game that's really good is Catherine. That was probably the first FATlus game I ever played before any of the Persona games, and it had that mystery aspect to it, and whenever the trailers and stuff are coming out for it, it looks so good. And that's another reason why I love LA Noire so much, because it's just... a murder mystery. Like, that stuff is fun to actually interact and play with, rather than just like reading a murder novel, a mystery novel, or watching a mystery movie. I mean, those are good, but when you're playing a video game that has a murder, or not murder, but mystery element into it, it's more like you feel like you're there. You feel like you are the person. You're not following this story. I mean, you're in this world where the story and the set events are going to happen, but you don't feel like you're just watching or hearing about a story that once happened. You feel like you're there. And I mean, that's how it goes for all video games, really. And I think that's what really helps the mystery aspect of these games is the fact that video games are able to put you in the spot of the player. And it's really interesting, and I really like games that do that, because the stories, if done well, there have been some pretty shitty mystery stories, but if the story's done well, which FATlus does write pretty good stories, it really captures you. So, in Persona 4, it gets to the point where, since you're living in this town, you've been here for a while, the way the game plays is each day passes by and you have to play the game day by day. And that's a very good way to integrate the game's mechanics into the story, because in the story, when somebody's thrown into the TV, they'll just go missing. Nobody will know where they are. They won't actually be dead as soon as they go into the TV. Only when there's a rainy night will that person show up dead the next morning. So you have to watch the news and see what the weather is going to be like throughout the days. And each day, you have a chance to do something. So you can go into the TV and fight monsters. I mean, it's not as easy as just going in and you have it done in one day, because there's dungeons and shit, right? So you got to go through the dungeons, and you probably spend one day going through like 5 floors of this dungeon and then come back, and then the next day you'll come and do 5 more. But when you go in and when you leave the dungeon, that's your day. You've used your day, so you got to wait until tomorrow. The days are kind of like, it's the time limit that you have to save the person. But they give you enough for some leniency here and there, because there's other things that you have to do besides going into the dungeons and beating the monsters. These characters that you meet that join your investigation team, and even some that aren't in your investigation team, you can talk to and spend the day with. And as you learn more about these characters and learn more about their personalities, they become stronger. So let's say you're talking to your DPS character, right? And you've spent 3 days with him now, and so he's getting really friendly with you. And so in the combat, since you've forged a better bond with him, they call this social linking, and that's what I'm going to refer to it. Since you've formed a social link with this character, they have learned some new abilities that they can use in combat, which is useful. But I think it's kind of like a secondhand effect to learning more about the characters, because these characters, they stand on their own as like, they're already such good characters, you know? I think Persona 3 has some good characters in it, but not all of them is like a knockout, like really an interesting character. There's some good ones, but not all of them are interesting. But in Persona 4, I'd say 90% of all the characters in the game are interesting. Well, the ones that you can interact with social links anyway. The only one I didn't really care about is the daycare lady. But each one of these characters, you kind of just want to find out their stories anyway, so you spend the days with them. But there's other factors too, like you got to spend days at the restaurant eating food to like level up your social stats and stuff. And that's the visual novel aspect of it. You know, you're just hanging out with these people, and yeah, you can get a girlfriend and date them and whatnot. And I'm just going to say it now that Chie is the best girl, but that's what you do when you're not fighting monsters. And it's fun, it's good, and I think the reason why this game left such an impact on me is because that these characters really interact with each other in a way that feels so real. Like they don't feel like they were made for the purpose of a game. They feel like they could actually exist in real life. Like that's how much these characters have so much depth that if you were to take them out of the game and put them right there next to you on the couch, you could talk to them and they wouldn't have these tropes. Which really pisses me off, because like in the spin-offs, like Persona 4 Arena and Persona 4 Dancing All Night, they boiled down these characters into like 2 or 3 jokes, and it's really stupid, because that's not who these characters are. Don't get me wrong, the spin-offs are fun, but obviously they're nothing compared to the actual game. And these characters really just emphasize, I don't know, it's the reason why I like it so much is I'm going to say that it's probably the best character development I've seen in any video game ever. Yeah, they're just really good. And so, since you're living in this town and getting to know all these people, you know, you're starting to not really want to go back home, because you're making new friends, and your niece, your uncle has a daughter, you spend a lot of time with her because her dad, your uncle, isn't around a lot since he's a detective, and obviously there's a bunch of murders going on, right? So he's not at home a lot because he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And only you really know what's going on, but if you told your uncle that, you know, you were jumping into TVs and fighting monsters and stuff, there's no way he'd believe you, right? So you're spending a lot of time with your niece, and eventually it comes to a point where she gets kidnapped. And I didn't really talk about it so much, but really, your niece is probably She's not the best character in the game, by any means. But, like I was saying, every character just has so much heart and human aspects to them that it really makes you care about what's going to happen to her. Because she gets kidnapped, and now she's in the TV, and, like, you know, you gotta go save her, right? Because you care. And, she's just, I mean, you know, I'm not a lolicon or anything, but she's cute, right? Since her uncle's not around, you come home, and maybe she's feeling a little sad, because her dad's not home, so you, like, do magic tricks for her, and she's like, ah, yay, ha, right? She's, like, in first grade or whatever. So she gets kidnapped, and you have to go save her. And so you do. You go in there, and you fight the guy that kidnapped her, and you think that the guy that has her is the killer. That's what you think. That's what the game wants you to think. His name is Namatame, and he's a delivery man. And he kidnapped Nanako, and you gotta fight him, and he turns into this big demon thing, and whatever. And you get Nanako out of the hospital. But the thing about the demon TV world is that when you're in there for such long amounts of time, you start to get sick. You'll start to get, like, bad headaches, or maybe your chest feels heavy and whatnot. And Nanako is in first grade. Nanako is the name of your niece. I probably should have said that. Nanako's in first grade. She's a really young girl, and she's been in there for a while now because you can't just go and beat the dungeon in one go. I mean, you could, but it's pretty dangerous. So she's been in there for a while, probably like maybe a week. And when she gets out of there, she's really sick. So you got to take her to the hospital. And, you know, it's like, okay, well, we saved her. She's going to be all right. You know, obviously, she's just sick. She didn't die, so we saved the day. Good job. We caught the killer, and everything's happy, right? Well, you wouldn't think that a game would do this, and big spoiler alert again. She dies. She goes into terminal condition, and you and your friends are going to go find her a gift for, like, a get-well gift, right? And she fucking dies. And she's in first grade, and she's dead. And you are mad. I was pissed. I did not think that she would die because, you know, we saved her. But she dies, and Namatame, the delivery man, is in the hospital as well because he's never actually been into the TV world himself. He's just been throwing people in, right? So you go confront him, and this is probably the main reason why I mean, there's a lot of things that go into why this game is great, but one of my favorite things about this game that makes this game really great is this pivotal moment right here. You walk into his hospital room, and there's a TV in his room. So he could just escape at any point, but he's kind of feeling out of it, right? And so you and all your friends, like, run in, and one of your friends in particular is super pissed, and he's like, we gotta kill this asshole right now. And I'm feeling the same, right? I mean, he killed my freaking niece, and I loved her so much, right? So I'm feeling the same. I'm really mad. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker, right? And, you can kill him, or you can choose not to. And I didn't think, you know, this game came out in 2008. I didn't think that, I mean, obviously, I'd probably get a different ending if I didn't kill him, but that would be it. Like, there wouldn't be extra content. If I decided to kill him, I'd get a certain ending, and if I didn't kill him, then I'd get a different ending, and that's it. There wouldn't be any more after that. Namatame, when I fought him in there, that would be the final boss, right? Well, that's not the case, because this game just keeps going. So I killed him, and I got the bad ending because I killed him. And I thought that was it. So I put the game down, and I was talking to my brother about it, and he asked me to show him what the final boss was. So I looked it up, and the final boss that I saw was not the thing that I fought. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Right? So I went back, and I figured out that you have to actually not kill Namatame. Turns out that he's not the killer, and that somebody else is. And it's kind of convoluted, but basically the idea is one of the detectives that's working at the station is the killer, and is the real, like, the actual killer, not a fake one this time. And that he tricked Namatame into throwing people into the TV by giving him, like, these reasons. And I'm not going to go into it because it's long and complicated. But you got to defeat the detective guy. And I really like that part of the game. I really like this moment where you have to choose if you can kill him or not, because it forces you, the player, to think about what you're going to do. You are so emotionally charged with this desire to kill him because your niece is dead, all thanks to this guy. So you want to kill him. And it shows you that, like, it shows that if you let your emotions overtake you, that you'll never get the answers that you seek, right? So you gotta just calm down, use your brain, and not kill him. You gotta start thinking about, I mean, like, obviously I didn't think about this because I was pissed, so I killed him. But if the player knows that, okay, something's not right here, something just doesn't add up, right? Like, something about this situation, Namatame can't be the killer. It has to be somebody else. There's no way. And, yeah. So, I just really like that. It's a really interesting mechanic. I guess it's not really a mechanic, but it's a plot point that makes the game keep going. Like, if you want to see the real ending, you have to think. You have to stop and think and not be so angry, which I was. And that's really good. I really like that, and I think more games should do that. But once you defeat the detective guy, and you think that that's it, there's another boss at the end that you could miss. And I think, in my personal opinion, defeating Adachi, which is the name of the detective, again, I'm treating this like I'm skipping out on spoilers, trying not to give away too many spoilers, but I already gave so many warnings. Adachi is the name of the killer. I think that if the game ended with Adachi and his, Ameno Sagiri, which is like this, JRPG, this big monster that shows up at the end that you gotta fight, I think that the game would be better off that way, story-wise. But there's more, and I like the final boss, right? I think the final boss is cool, but Adachi is not the final boss. So basically the story goes that now that you've defeated Adachi and saved the day and whatnot, it fast forwards to March, which is the time when you're supposed to leave and go home. Back to the city and leave all your friends behind. And I mean, you don't really have a say in the matter because it's your parents or whatever, right? But you have to go say goodbye to all your friends. And as you're saying goodbye to all your friends, they're all like, oh man, this is going to suck. Like, I'm barely going to see you and whatnot. It's pretty sad. And if you take, so you can just leave, you can leave the city, the countryside town, without ever fighting the final boss. You can just leave and go home and that's it. And what you need to do, though, to fight the real, actual, true final boss is you got to go back to the meeting spot, the place where all your friends would always meet to talk about, the murders and stuff. And then they'll say something to you that's like, something else. There's something else missing. There's one last piece that doesn't quite make sense. And so you go around and ask some people about it and figure out what the hell's going on. Then you fight the real final boss. Turns out it was this guy at the gas station who gave everybody these powers and let them be able to go into the TVs and whatnot. Turns out he's actually Izanami, which is like this Japanese thunder god thing. I don't know the whole story 100%, but she's a god. And she gave everybody the powers. It's a JRPG. You're fighting a god. Whatever. And, it's a cool final boss. Like, I think it's cool. I like the fight. The music is great. The way the characters interact with each other at the end is cool. But I think it doesn't really add that much to the story. It makes it seem way more over the top than it needs to be, which, is a trope in JRPGs, but already when you're fighting Adachi, he transforms into this big eyeball thing. And that's already godlike. I don't think they needed to take it a step further, But whatever. It's a cool fight, and that's how the story is, and that's fine. So, yeah. I mean, that's the story of the game. And now that I've been over all that stuff, this video is pretty long now, actually. I didn't expect it to be this long. Probably a lot of me rambling. I don't know if you guys want to hear that, but so the things that I really like about this game are the persona system is obviously really cool. There's a lot of different personas that you can summon to help you fight. I didn't go over that at all. When you're traversing through the dungeons, it's, I don't want to say it's like Pokemon, but, you know, you summon demons to help you fight. But it's not like in Shin Megami Tensei where they're by your side fighting with you all the time. It's like each character has their own persona that they're assigned, except for the main character, because the main character can summon lots. Only one at a time, but lots. And there's a lot of different personas that you can summon, and in the remake they added even more. And the personas all have different weaknesses and strengths, and depending on which social link. So each character that you hang out with outside of the dungeons, like, say you're talking to this old lady, and her affiliation with a tarot card is death. So all personas that are assigned to the death, I guess they're called arcanas in the game, but basically what they are is like a system that divides the personas into different trees, like different groups, right? So a persona that's in the death arcana would be powered up because you have a stronger social link with this character who's related to the death arcana. And so that's the reason why you want, that's like the incentive to do that. But as I said, you know, that's kind of secondary to just learning more about these characters. However you want to see it. I mean, if you like the RPG aspect more, maybe learning about the characters is secondary. But to me, learning about the characters is the primary reason why I wanted to play this game. And obviously figure out who the killer was. And I really like that it's integrated in that way because the visual novel aspects and the JRPG aspects really come together in a very good way, where when you're hanging out with these people outside of the dungeons and talking to them and learning more about what they like, what makes them who they are, and their interests and the struggles that they've been through and why you guys are friends and all that, it really makes you want to fight harder in the dungeons to make sure that everything turns out okay. Like, it's, you know, it doesn't actually have any effect besides, you know, it powers them up, but it makes you want to try harder. And when you fight with these characters in the dungeons, the fact that their personas get more powerful whenever you speak to them outside, it makes you want to do that outside, right? So, like, there's this character, and maybe he's not putting out quite enough damage, right? Maybe he's just not quite strong enough. So you go hang out with him and talk to him and learn about more. Like, if you haven't talked to him yet, you want to go talk to him and learn more about him. Then as you learn more about him, you're like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. I want to know more about why this character is the way that he is. And so you do that more and more, and then his persona becomes stronger, and then you're able to do better in combat. And I think those two elements really complement each other really well. And, you know, the combat itself isn't that special. I mean, it's like standard JRPG fare, right? It's turn-based, there's buffs, your party members attack, and then the boss attacks and stuff. But the thing that makes it different is the fact that the social linking with the people in real life and the visual novel aspects combined with the combat in the dungeons, in the combat aspects, and that's what makes it different. But in the grand scheme of things, there's nothing really that special about the combat itself. Really, that's all I have to say. I can't really think of anything else to say about this game. It's just, you know, it's good, and I love it. So I just want to say that everything about this game is great. All the characters are great. All the personas are pretty interesting and creative. The story is outstanding, phenomenal, and all the music is awesome. I mean, maybe some of the dungeon music is a little bit monotonous, but for the most part, it's all great. Honestly, I'd say this is a 10 out of 10 game. I mean, if it's better than Pikmin 2, it better be, right? It's just so perfect. I love this game. You guys should try it out if you haven't. I love it. So, yeah, just go play it. It took me about 50 hours to beat the game my first time, and you know, since I killed Namatame at first and didn't get the true ending, I had to play through it again. So overall, for me to beat everything, it took me about 120 hours. So I'd say average gameplay time is 50 to 70 hours for one run of the game if you haven't played it before. If you know what you're doing and you're just going through everything again, it's much easier. You probably get it in like 30 hours or something like that. But the point is, it's still a very long game. And I like really long games because it gives longevity, right? Like, you get more bang for your buck. That's why I know a lot of people complain about games being too long, but games should be long, right? Like, they should take forever to complete. Well, I guess there's kind of a fine point. You know, you don't want a game to be like 200 hours long. I mean, I would play it, I would like it, but I can understand how that's not really something that people want, because then if they wanted to play the game again, it would just seem like such a daunting task, right? And that's why, in general, JRPGs don't really have a lot of replay value for that reason. But because Persona 4 has so much to offer, I mean, I didn't really go over a lot of it, but there's lots of things that you can do in the real world. Like, there's fishing. You can go, in the remake, there's a lot more stuff to do. But in the original, there's fishing. You can go around town and like talk to people and do little side quests outside of town while you're waiting for the days to pass to save the person. You got to study for quizzes and stuff like that, and you got to rank up your social skills by doing various things. But I mean, like in the remake, you can go play a crane machine, you can go to the coffee shop, you can go to the movies. There's a lot more stuff to do. So if I had to say anything about which version you should play if you're planning on checking this game out, probably play the remake, because there's just more to it. Though one of the aspects about the remake that I don't like at all is Marie. Now, for those of you who have played this game, you know who Marie is, but Marie is a character that they added in the remake. And basically what she is another denizen of the Velvet Room, which is where you go to summon personas to help you in combat. And she ruins one of the main draws of the game for me. Like, she's not a bad character or anything. I mean, she's cute, but she's kind of annoying, and, you know, basically her story is that, like, she's not from the human world, so you have to show her around and teach her how things work. And she is just not... She ruins the mystery of the game. So, like, I remember how I said at the end of the game, after you've defeated Adachi, there's another boss. Hang on, I gotta take a swig. I haven't talked this much in a long time. It's making my throat sore. After you defeat Adachi, there's another boss in March after you've talked to all your friends and whatnot, Izanami. And if you had never played the game before, you have no fucking idea that Izanami is even there, right? Like, there's no reason for you to believe that there's any more than what, like, you can just go home, like, you saved the day, right? There's no reason for you to believe that there's any more. But there is. And, you know, some people may not like the idea that they could miss out on that final boss, but it's another one of those aspects that makes the player think, you know? It makes the player do something for themselves rather than just having the game tell them, right? And Marie is exactly what happens. I mean, she doesn't explicitly say to go back to the food court, right? But what she says is she adds an extra dungeon to the game, which is cool and all. But after you beat that dungeon and save her from the dungeon, she says that there's more. Like, she says that because her dungeon is after you fight Adachi, so it's in between Adachi and Izanami is where she falls in. And she tells you that there's more. Like, she tells you that Adachi was not the end, that she was not the end, that there's more. And I do not like that. It gets rid of this air of mystery and discovery behind finding Izanami for yourself. Like, if the player thinks, okay, well, there's still what... Because the way that you access Izanami is after you've said goodbye to all your friends, it brings up this menu and asks you if you're ready to go home. And if you say yes, then it takes you home and you get the good ending. But if you say no, then you're still free to run around. And then, you know, you go back to the food court and... yeah, and shit happens. And that's what a player should do. If the player feels like they're like, you know, no, I don't want to go home. I love these people too much. I don't want to go. They hit no. and then they're free to roam, and then they find Izanami, and they're like, holy shit, there's even more! But when Marie's there and she says, oh, there's more, by the way, then now this player is just cautious about, like, every decision that they make now about what's going to be next. And they might think, oh, well, since there's more, yeah, I guess I am ready to go home, aren't I? And then they'll miss it. And that's not cool. Like, that's one problem with it, but the main problem I have with it is that it gets rid of that mystery. Like, it just completely destroys it. I don't know. It's just such a minor thing, but I think it's really important about the tone of the game and what the game tries to do and be. And it just ruins it. And I don't like that she does that. If you like Marie, I'm sorry, but, you know, she ruins that for me. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to play a game, play the remake. It has more shit. A little bit longer because the extra dungeon. I played the original first. I think the main difference between those two is Marie. But some of the minor things are, in the original Persona game, it feels a bit more serious. I mean, the game itself is kind of silly. Like, I wouldn't make a direct comparison to Earthbound, but it has those kind of vibes coming from it when you fight some of the bosses and things. It's like if Earthbound met Catherine, right? I mean, you know, Catherine came out. Both of those games, whatever. It's a weird fusion. Probably not the best fusion analogy to make, but that's what I describe it to my friends as. And in the Vita version, the game's a lot more colorful, which is cool. I like the colorfulness of the game, but I think the darker tones of the game are really highlighted in the original. It's just the color palette that they use. Because like in the Vita remake, it's just a lot brighter. The colors are more vibrant, and maybe that's just because it's on a portable system. I don't know. But it takes away a little bit of the feel. Those are really the only things that I can say about the two games, though, are the main differences. That's really all I have to say about this game. Really, it's a fantastic game, and I know I just spoiled everything for you, so, like, the story is kind of ruined. But if you want to play it, go play it. I guess I'll put one of those annotations that's like, you know, if you want to skip the spoilers, go to here, which will be like most of the video, but oh well. Anyway, if you guys liked this, I know there was a lot of me just rambling in here. This thing's like more than half an hour long. But, you know, I can refine it a little bit. Tell me what you guys like. Tell me what you guys don't like. I'm not doing Pony anymore. I won't do that. I just don't want to let this channel sit. And since I'm out here by myself, I have a lot of free time and I want to bring stuff to you guys. And I know that there's a lot of you guys out there that really want to get more stuff from me that's not the garbage that I've been uploading lately, like the tutorials and stupid shit. So if you guys want to see more of this, just let me know what you like. I'll try and refine it to what you guys like. And, you know, we can find a middle ground with what I'm trying to do and what you want to hear. I just wanted to reboot the series and see how it did. So if you guys like it, that's cool. Let me know what you guys think. I said that like 5 times in a row, but just do it already. And, yeah, this will be the longest video I've uploaded in like, I don't even know. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble about my new favorite game of all time, Persona 4. It's great. Go buy it. Fucking $15 on Amazon. Go play the other Persona games. If you haven't, they're good too, just not as good as 4. If I had to put them in order, I'd go 4 is the best, 2 is the second best, 3 is the third best, and the first one, I didn't finish it, so, you know, probably on the bottom of my list. They're all pretty good, though. The first one's decent. It's more of a dungeon crawler, more akin to Shin Megami Tensei. And the story is just kind of... the story's not very interesting in that one. But 2, 3, and 4 have some pretty good stories. 4 has the best story. And maybe I'm biased because I played it at that time in my life. But, okay, this video's getting way too long. So just go play it. Let me know what you guys think. See ya.